Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Canopy, the view from above where we talk about generative engine optimization, small business, and what's changing in the world of AI search. I'm your host, Jen Shannon, and founder of Clemelopy. If you're listening, shout out to you and thank you so much for being here and sharing your time with me. In the last episode, we talked about what GEO is, how it compares to SEO, and why AI search requires a completely different approach than traditional search. If you haven't listened to that one yet, I'd recommend going back and starting there because today's episode builds directly on those concepts. Today, we're going a level deeper. I'm going to introduce you to AI visibility architecture, which is the discipline that GEO lives within, and then I'm going to walk you through Clemelopy's proprietary system for implementing it, which is called the Orchard Ecosystem Framework. This is also the beginning of a 10-episode series. After this episode, the next 9 episodes will each focus on one element of the framework in depth. So we'll be doing the deep dives. So think of today as the overview, the big picture, before we start digging into the details. Let's dive in. Let's start with a quick recap of what we covered in the last episode. We talked about how traditional search engines like Google run on an algorithm. It's a massive scoring system in a filing cabinet. Google looks at your page and checks hundreds of signals, like does it have the right keywords? Do other sites link to it? Is it fast? Is it mobile friendly? And then it assigns it a score, ranks the page accordingly, and then the highest scores show up on page 1. AI search, however, runs on a large language model, also known as LLMs. An LLM doesn't score pages, it actually reads them. It's trained on enormous amounts of text to understand human language and meaning. When you ask it a question, it's not pulling up a ranked list and hoping you click the right one. It's actually synthesizing information and then generating an answer from that information. The algorithm asks which page matches the query. The LLM asks, what's the actual answer and who do I trust enough to cite? That's why GEO, or Generative Engine Optimization, focuses on things like clarity, consistency, and credibility. The AI needs to piece together who you are as an entity, what you actually do, why you're qualified, and whether you're trustworthy enough to recommend. And that brings us up to speed for today's topic. As I mentioned earlier, today we are talking about AI visibility architecture and the Orchard Ecosystem Framework. So what is AI visibility architecture? It is the discipline of structuring your online presence so AI systems can understand, trust, and recommend your brand. So let me break that down for you. When I say structuring your online presence, I mean how all the pieces of your digital ecosystem fit together. That is your website, your Google business profile, your social media, your reviews and testimonials, the way you describe your services, the language you use, how your pages connect to each other, all of it. When I say so AI systems can understand, I mean AI can accurately interpret who you are and what you do. Not just match keywords, but actually comprehend your business as an entity. What's your name? What services do you offer? What makes you different? Where do you operate? Who do you serve? When I say trust, I mean that AI sees enough credibility signals to feel confident citing you. That is like testimonials, case studies, consistent information across platforms, being mentioned by other reputable sources, evidence that you actually know what you're talking about and deliver results. And when I say recommend, I mean that when someone asks AI a question that relates to what you do, the AI chooses to include you in its answer. It says your name specifically. It links to your website specifically. It tells the person asking that you're a good option. That's the goal of AI visibility architecture. Not just being findable, but being understood and recommendable. Now, here's how it relates to GEO. AI visibility architecture is the discipline. It's the big picture, understanding what we're trying to accomplish, if you will. GEO is the applied methodology within that discipline. It's the actual optimization work you do to make AI visibility architecture a reality. Think of it like this. AI visibility architecture is understanding that AI needs to trust you in order to recommend you, and GEO is the practical work you do to earn that trust. And that brings us to the Orchard Ecosystem Framework, which is Clemelopy's proprietary system for implementing GEO in a way that actually makes sense. I want to give you a little background. When I first had the idea for Clemelopy, my goal was to take what sounded very complex with GEO and turn it into something that anyone could understand. I needed a way to make GEO feel less overwhelming to people who don't live in that world. When you start reading about GEO, it can feel extremely overwhelming. You have terms like entity optimization, schema markup, topical authority, canonical clarity, citation signals, EEAT. It's a lot of jargon, and it's easy to feel like you need a computer science degree to understand it. And I kind of liken it to when you move to a new place and you have that one room that you just shove all the boxes in and close the door until you're ready to deal with it. And so you open the door and you see the boxes and you get overwhelmed, and maybe some of them are half open. And this is where you're digging to find information, right? To try to learn about GEO. And then you get overwhelmed, so you turn around and shut the door and you think, oh, I'll just get back to it another time. And then you never do because it's so daunting of a task. So I wanted to create something different. I wanted a framework that really wrapped the technical strategy in something that you can actually picture and understand in your mind's eye. And that's where the Orchard Ecosystem Framework comes from. If you listen to the first episode where I talked about why the company is named Clemelopy, you know I have a clementine tree named Clementine in my backyard. So the orchard metaphor felt right. But beyond that, I genuinely believe the best frameworks are ones that stick with you. Technical jargon is hard to remember, and a metaphor you can visualize stays with you for much longer. And one thing to note is that I'm an avid gardener. Each year, I get more and more skilled and learn more and more. I love gardening for so many reasons, but probably the biggest reason is that it gives me a connection to the earth and its ecosystem. I notice things I would have never noticed before. I understand things I wouldn't have understood before, like how if I plant borage near my tomatoes, it will attract tomato hornworms and keep them away from my tomatoes, so I don't need pesticides. Or how a carpenter bee that I have lovingly named Herbert comes and hovers in my yard every year and keeps me company while I'm working out there. Now, it's probably not the same carpenter bee because I think it's a male because he does hover. Usually the females burrow and lay their eggs, but the males are the ones that kind of just hover and scope things out. But that's what I tell myself. They have a shorter lifespan than the females, but I like to tell myself that it's the same bee coming around every year. But it puts me in touch with the greater ecosystem and how everything works together to sustain each other. And your online presence is an ecosystem. Your website is an orchard. Each piece of content you create is a tree in that orchard. And when everything is properly cared for and cultivated, all the pieces work together in the ecosystem and AI can understand and recommend it. A single blog post standing alone doesn't do much. A service page by itself is just sitting there. But when your blog post connects to your service page, which links to a testimonial, which reinforces what your About page says, which matches your Google business profile, which echoes what your reviews say, now you have an ecosystem. Now you have something that tells a consistent, credible story. Now you have something AI can actually make sense of. The Orchard Ecosystem Framework has 9 elements. Each one represents a different component of a healthy AI visible online presence, and they all work together. So let me walk you through each one. We'll start with the first one, which are the roots. The roots are your core concepts. They are your foundational topics that are the deep underlying themes that everything else grows from. In GEO terms, these are your core canonical pillars. They're the core areas of expertise that define what you're known for. If you're a wedding photographer, your roots might be things like wedding photography, engagement sessions, wedding albums, and venue expertise. These aren't individual pages or blog posts. They're the big themes that anchor your entire content ecosystem. However, they do become individual pages to support your ecosystem. Strong roots mean everything above ground is stable, and weak roots mean that your orchard can topple in the first storm. And like I said, this is the first in this series, so we're going to do a deep dive into each of these in the next 9 episodes. So this is just an overview. The next one is soil, and this is your anchor text and terminology. Soil is the consistent language and phrases you use around your brand. It's what nourishes everything. This is about using the same terminology everywhere. If you call your main service brand photography on your homepage, you should call it brand photography on your about page, in your testimonials, on your Google business profile, and on your social media, not branding photos in one place and business portraits in another and corporate headshots somewhere else. AI learns your vocabulary through repetition. So consistent soil means everything in your orchard is fed with the same nutrients. The next one is the trunk, and this is your page intent. Trunk is the central purpose of each page. Every tree needs a trunk, and every page needs a clear intent. In GEO terms, this is about understanding what job each page is supposed to do. Is this page meant to inform someone? Is it supposed to help them navigate to the right place, convince them to buy something? Each page should have one clear purpose, and everything on that page should support that purpose. A tree with multiple trunks splitting in different directions isn't as strong as a tree with one solid trunk. Same goes for your pages. The next are the branches, and these are your supporting topics that extend from your main ideas. They add depth and reach. So if your trunk is, say, wedding photography, your branches might be things like beach wedding photography, rainy day wedding backup plans, best time of day for wedding portraits, and how to choose your wedding photographer. These supporting topics extend outward from your core service and give AI more context about the breadth of your expertise. And this goes back to what we talked about with your core canonical pillars. So your branches are supporting topics from your core canonical pillars. Branches make your content more comprehensive, and they show you don't just know the main core canonical pillar topic that you're talking about. You understand all the related angles too. The next one is leaves, which are clarity signals. The leaves are what make your content readable and scannable. In practical terms, this is about structure, clear headings, logical organization, schema markup, and that helps AI understand what type of content it's looking at. So like FAQ sections that directly answer common questions, the formatting choices that make your content easy to parse for both humans and AI. The leaves catch the sunlight and photosynthesize and turn that into energy. And good clarity signals help AI see your content clearly, giving your content energy. The next is fruit, which is your proof and outcomes. Fruit is the tangible result that show your orchard is healthy and productive. This is where testimonials live, case studies, before and after examples, statistics about results you've achieved, awards, certifications, basically anything that demonstrates you actually deliver on what you promise. AI is looking for reasons to trust you, and fruit is the evidence that people can trust you, which means AI can trust you. It's what people come to your orchard for, and it's what convinces AI that recommending you is a safe bet. Next is pollinators. Pollinators are the external sources that bring credibility to your content. Think of bees carrying pollen between orchards. In GEO terms, this is about citations and external links. Being mentioned on another reputable website is a great way for this to help boost your authority. And then guest posts on industry blogs, press coverage, podcast appearances. Anytime another trusted source references you, that's a pollinator bringing authority into your ecosystem. Pollinators show that you're not just saying you're credible, other sources are vouching for your credibility too. Next is the underground network, which are your internal connections. Those are your internal linking strategies. And this is probably one of my favorite. And I do think that it can often be overlooked. So let's get into this one a little bit. Underground network is your internal linking structure. Now, I call this underground network, but the actual term is mycorrhizal fungi, which are symbiotic soil fungi that connect with plant roots, forming basically these vast underground networks called mycelium that extend the root systems of citrus trees beneath the surface, and it connects to all of the trees in your orchard. This is how your pages link to each other. So when your blog post about, say, beach wedding photography tips links to your main wedding photography service page, which then links to a testimonial from a couple who got married on the beach, which then links back to your about page, that's your underground network sharing nutrients and authority throughout your orchard. A healthy underground network means no page is an island. Everything is connected and can follow the paths between them. So the last part of this is cultivation, and this is your action plan. Cultivation is your ongoing care plan because an orchard doesn't thrive by accident. It takes consistent attention. In practical terms, this is your maintenance rhythm. How often are you updating your content or checking for broken links or adding new testimonials as you get them or refreshing outdated information and responding to reviews? Great orchards require cultivation. You can't just plant the trees and walk away. You have to tend them over time. Now, here's the important thing. These 9 elements aren't separate checklists. They work together as a system. Your roots determine what branches you grow. Your soil nourishes everything. Your trunk gives each page direction. Your branches add depth. Your leaves make everything clear. Your fruit proves that you deliver. Your pollinators bring outside credibility. Your underground network connects it all. And your cultivation keeps the whole thing healthy over time. When one element is weak, it affects the others. If your roots are unclear, your branches will grow in random directions. If your soil is inconsistent, nothing gets proper nourishment. If you have no fruit, there's no proof that you're worth recommending. But when all 9 elements are strong, you have an orchard that AI can understand, trust, and confidently recommend. And that's the power of thinking in ecosystems instead of individual tactics. So that's the orchard ecosystem framework, the big picture. Starting with the next episode, we're going to go deep on each element. 9 episodes, 1 for each component of the framework. We'll talk about what each element really means, why it matters for AI visibility, and most importantly, how you can actually implement it for your own business. We're starting with the roots because everything grows from your foundation. If your roots aren't solid, nothing else will be stable. I'm really excited about this series, and I hope that you are too. This is the stuff I wish someone had explained to me when I was first trying to wrap my head around GEO. Not just what to do, but why it matters and how it all fits together. If you want to get a bit of a head start, I've put together a free resource called the 2026 GEO Playbook. It walks you through how to make your content AI ready step by step and in plain language. Download it for free at clemelopy.com/playbook. Thanks for spending this time with me, and until next time, keep growing forward.